Hello, in this video we'll be learning about the quadratic formula and the discriminant. The quadratic formula works when your quadratic equation is set equal to 0. So if ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, then the x value is going to equal negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's something that you are going to need to have memorized, so I think you should make a flashcard of that right away, but also take good notes on this unit. So here's the first example. If 5x squared plus 3x plus 6 equals 0, then you can plug in a, b, and c into the formula. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's how you plug it in. So let's use that in an example that we'll go ahead and solve. So the first thing we have to do before we use the quadratic formula in this case is set it equal to 0. So we have x squared minus 8, and if we subtract 2x from both sides, we get 0. Now, before we begin, we're going to need to put this in standard form. So x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. Make sure that the signs go correctly with everything. Now we're going to use the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Once again, I recommend writing it down every time you have to use it so that you memorize it. So negative b in this case, so b is 2, so sorry, b is negative 2, so negative b will be 2, or the opposite of b will be 2. Now b squared, that's going to be 4, so 4 minus 4 times a, which is 1, and c, which is negative 8. All over 2 times a, which again is 1, so just 2. Okay, so now we have to do the calculations. So we have 2 plus or minus the square root of 4. So now we have negative 8 times negative 4 is positive 32 all over 2. And so now we have 2 plus or minus the square root of 36 all over 2, which means 2 plus or minus 6 all over 2. And so 2 plus 6 would be 8, so we have 8 over 2, or 2 minus 6 would be negative 4 over 2. So the answer is 4 or negative 2. And then you could double check that that works by plugging it into the original equation. You get 16 minus 8 equals 8, so 4 works. And then 4 minus 8 is negative 4, so negative 2 also works. So both of those answers are correct. Let's try another example. So we have negative b, so negative 7 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So in this case we have negative 7 plus or minus the square root of, I'm going to need more space, so let's go down a level. So negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 49 plus, looks like 60 to 40 all over 8. So that's negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 289 all over 8, which is negative 7 plus or minus, I think the square root of 289 is 17. So 17 over 8. So negative 7 plus 17 is 10. So we have 10 over 8. Or negative 7 minus 17 would be negative 24 over 8. So we either have 5/4 or -3, and they both work. So that's what x equals, right? So I guess I should write it like this. X equals 5/4 or -3. All right, so the discriminant. The discriminant is one piece of the whole quadratic formula. It's the part that's under the radical sign here. It's the b squared minus 4ac. Because of the plus minus in front of the discriminant, if this is a positive number, or a number greater than 0, a positive number, there will be two solutions because you'll have one that's negative b plus all that, and the other one is the negative b minus all that. Well, if b squared minus 4ac equals 0, there will only be one solution because plus or minus 0 is the same thing. And then if b squared minus 4ac is less than 1, there will be no solution because you can't have the square root of a negative number. So in that case, we have no solution. So that's really helpful when you're trying to solve a problem. If you notice that this is negative right off the bat, you can stop there and say no solution. Otherwise, you will have to actually find the other solutions or solution. Okay, so now we have several methods of solving a quadratic equation. You can use graphing, recommended if it's allowed, obviously, and if you have a graphing calculator, that's the easiest way to solve those. Square roots is a real easy way to solve a quadratic equation if there's no x term, so no middle term there. And the way you would do that is you would, in this case, add 9 to both sides, divide both sides by 3, and then now just get the square root of 3. It won't be a whole number answer, but that is the answer. Oh, it is plus or minus, by the way, because the square root of a positive number is both positive and negative, so plus or minus the square root of 3. You can use factoring if the equation is easily factorable. So for instance, in this case, x minus 6 and x plus 5 equals 0. So then we know that x must equal 6 because 6 minus 6 equals 0. Or we know that x equals -5 because -5 plus 5 equals 0. And finally, we know the quadratic formula. So if the equation can't be factored, and there is a b term, so you can't use square root, you don't have a graphing calculator, then you'll want to use the quadratic formula, which is, in this case, 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4 times 1 times 3 all over 2 times 1. So 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 12 all over 2. So 5 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 2. And at this point, if you have a calculator, you can figure this out. This isn't going to be a whole number answer, and you can't really do this by hand, so you can either leave it like this, or if you had a calculator, you could figure out that the square root of 13 is something like 3 point something, and then you can figure out the decimals. Alright, and that's it for tonight's video. Thanks for watching.